So, check this out. Traditional masculinity can be psychologically harmful. Teaching boys to suppress their emotions has real internal and external consequences. But yeah, let's break it down. The image of masculinity is changing. And honestly, that's a good thing. Because the traditional masculinity ideology of like pride and competition and dominance and aggression doesn't work anymore for most conscious men and women. And to be fair, it probably never really did. Why? Because just like many other behaviors, patterns, beliefs, even our diet, masculinity is something we copy, we learn, we adopt, without ever checking if it actually fits our individual reality. Masculinity is lived and expressed very differently all over the world. Does that mean that some men are like more of a man than others? In many cultures, men greet each other with kisses on the cheek or walk down the street holding hands. Men from elite classes used to wear makeup and wigs as symbols of status. Even high heels were originally a fashion statement for aristocratic European men. All of this shows how arbitrary our ideas of masculinity really are. What it means to be a man is shaped by social norms, not by biology. The idea that men are naturally stronger, more logical, and less emotional is pure social conditioning. And this Western image of masculinity doesn't just harm women, it causes serious damage to men as well. The majority of homeless people are men. The majority of people with substance abuse problems are men. The majority of victims of violent crime are men. And the suicide rate among men is significantly higher than among women. The American Psychological Association, EPA, even published official guidelines on how to work psychologically with boys and men. Their conclusion: traditional masculinity can be psychologically harmful. Teaching boys to suppress their emotions has real internal and external consequences. Taken as a whole, stoicism, competition, dominance, and aggression, like traditional masculinity, does damage. And with very few exceptions, most of us are born with a clear male or female body, and with that, a more masculine or feminine imprint on many levels. At the same time, every human being carries both masculine and feminine essence within. And while equality between genders is essential on an ethical and legal level, on an energetic level, sameness is actually destructive. The principle of yin and yang, the feminine yin and the masculine yang, naturally seeks balance and harmony. And that balance affects our body, mind, and nervous system. The masculine principle is largely shaped by thinking and rationality. It focuses on doing, working, achieving goals, controlling, pushing, thriving, growing, in short, action. At the same level, the feminine principle, relaxing, enjoying, playing, dreaming, allowing, trusting, has been devalued and pushed aside. As a result, it barely has space in our lives. The imbalance has created chaos, constant pressure, and friction in men and women, in relationships, and even in companies. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with the deeper meaning of what we do and why we are here. Now we have the opportunity to give the feminine energy within us more space again. The feminine lives primarily in our inner world, especially in the heart and our emotions. It asks us to create a counterbalance to constant activity and thinking by turning inward. Feeling, resting, listening, trusting, intuition, and reconnecting with the voice of the heart and with life itself. The mind alone doesn't have the capacity to lead us into a fulfilled and meaningful life in a healthy body and with loving communities. The wisdom lives in the heart. So it's time to rethink masculinity from the ground up. That requires men to reflect on themselves and their behaviors, to learn how to open up and also to allow vulnerability, starting very early in life. A man who shuts down in pain denies his true nature. The new, or rather original man, is free to feel and act, and even in the middle of pain. If necessary, it's better to live with a wounded heart than to close it completely, right? He learns to live with the wound and still act spontaneously and lovingly from that place. At least in the short term, because in the long run, all wounds can heal. The strongest man is not the one without pain, but the one who isn't afraid of his so-called weak sides, his pain, his traumas, who listens to the voice of his body and his soul and has the courage to follow it. We also need to move beyond the old, distorted images of masculinity, from the macho ideal, strong spine, but no heart, to the overly sensitive, nice guy, like all heart, no spine. Heart and spine belong together in man. Only then can he fully stand in his power. That requires a new kind of courage, and that is the path of true masculinity. A lot in life feels shallow and empty when you are not connected to your core consciousness. The inner source is unchangeable and always present. So first, feel as deeply as possible into that source. And only then go about your daily tasks and your interactions with people you love. Do and feel everything from that place, and then observe what happens to the details of your life. Any kind of grounding practice can support you greatly in your daily routine. A man can love his father and still let go of his father's expectations and criticism in order to become a free man. Live as if your father were already dead. Would you have lived differently if that had been the case for a long time? This week, do at least 3 things that your father would definitely not have approved of. By doing this, you temporarily free yourself from your father's expectations. With guided subconscious mind coaching, you can release that pressure on a much deeper and long-term level, of course. If you are ready to connect to your core consciousness, heal the relationship to your father and live your masculinity, then comment with system and I'll send you the exact framework we are using in the Integrated Man protocol, which helped dozens of men already. I hope this was already helpful for you, and have a good day.